I want to introduce Dr. Aftab sir. After that, we will discuss about good evening, participants, and welcome our resource person, Dr. Aftab Ahmad Ansari. We are pleased to introduce Dr. Aftab Ahmad Ansari, an eminent scholar and educator in the field of education, who hold the position of associate professor at Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. With the remarkable research experience spanning over the 15 years, Dr. Ansari has made a significant contribution to the field of education through his academic expertise and leadership. Throughout his career, Dr. Ansari has actively engaged in research and has supervised numerous research projects and dissertations and AMET level, providing the invaluable guidance and mentorship to the aspiring scholar. He has also successfully completed his PhD in education, a testament of his dedications and passion for the advancing knowledge on his area of expertise. As a seasoned academic, Dr. Ansari has demonstrated a keen interest in organizing various orientation programs, seminars, and workshops for stirring culture, learning, and professional development within the educational community. His commitment to the continuous learning is evident from the several orientation program and professional development initiative he has attended the tailoring. Dr. Aft- Dr. Aftab, Dr. Aftab Ahmad Ansari's journey as an educator and researcher has been marked by his passion for the education, dedication for the students' welfare, and relentlessness of the pursuit of the knowledge. His academic achievement and extensive experiment make him to valuable asset of the education's community, and his continue to inspire the influence the field of education positively. As we recognize Dr. Ansari's contributions, we eagerly anticipate witnessing further growth and accomplishment from the esteemed educator and researcher who continues to make the lasting impact in field of education. Now, I request Sir Aftab sir kindly proceed and kindly begin and enlighten us. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for introduction. First of all, I would like to say good evening to all of you. Then I would like to congratulate the organizers for selecting this topic, especially Bharat Digital Academy and Bharat Learning Academy, uh, for selecting this topic, that is impact of motivation on learning. Because this topic is important in today's context, especially in the post-corona period, that the interest and the motivation are winning out from our children, or I will say from our students at all the stages of education. And for that purpose, this is the need of hour to discuss such topic, especially among the students, scholars, and teachers who are discussing and who are always encountering such kind of problem of learning. Keeping this topic in my mind, I have selected some points that is, so slide move कर रहा है. Hello. I have selected some topic, that is introduction. What is motivation? Interest versus motivation. Classification of motivation. Motivational cycle. Type of motivation. Principles of motivation. And impact of motivation learning. Strategies of students' motivation for effective learning in the classroom. And then we will conclude this topic with our discussion and with our your own suggestion. Introducing this topic, I will discuss three incidents or three events. That is, a small birds collect the material to build its nets. from the different parts, and at the last he find that someone has destroyed his nest. Again the birds collect some material, and finally he construct or he build up his nest. Similarly, we see the students working hard day and night during exam, and they don't bother about their food, their other desires, but they are dedicated toward their examinations. And another example, that is a boy constantly trying to learn cycle even after getting many cuts and injuries. We have also faced the same problem and same situation in our childhood when we are trying to learn something new. So these three incidents shows that and arises some questions that what makes them engage in one or the other type of learning. And the next question arises, that is what makes them to continue their effort even after facing many obstacles. We have seen these three situations or three incidents. The small birds collect the materials to build a nest, the students working hard for their examination, and the boy constantly trying to learn cycle even after so many injuries. What is the reason behind this, and why they are engaging their uh, time and their spending their time to just doing so, and what makes them to continue even thereafter failure many times, and they are trying to complete their work. Of course, the answer is of such questions are only and one and only, that is motivation. The bird which is building its nets, and the students who is studying hard, and the boy who is learning to cycle, all do so because the motivation, because they are motivated and they are trying to complete their goal. That's why they are doing so. They learn because they are motivated to learn. They act because they are persuaded to act in order to satisfy their basic needs and attain the desired goals. Now the question is, what is motivation? Let's learn what is motivation. Motivation is derived from the word motive, which means need, desire, and wants within the individuals. The motivation is not outside components or outside construct. It is the construct which comes from our inside. That is our needs, our desire, our wants within the individual. It is one of the most critical component of learning. It is said that if a person have no motivation, it is very difficult to learn anything new. It is influenced by a student's personality, abilities, and task itself, incentives for learning, and teachers' behavior. These are the some other aspect of motivation that influence the our motivation or increase the motivation. It is a skill that people can learn to apply anywhere at any time. Motivation is a kind of skill which we can learn and which we can apply anywhere. Thus, motivation has a direct impact on how an individual learns. How we will learn, how we will do, and how we will act is totally determined by the motivation. The effect of motivation is normally far reaching because it increases an individual's energy. If we are motivated, if we are having a lot of energy, we are motivated. Determines the persistence in reaching any specific goal, aspect of types of learning techniques used, and an individual's thinking process. These are the aspect of motivation. Motivation is not only important in its own right, it is also an important predictor of learning and achievement. A person is how much motivated will determine his success, his learning level, and his achievement. The students who are more motivated, of course, they will learn more. To learn persist. Their learning persist longer, produce high quality efforts, learn more deeply, and perform better in class, their classes and on standardized tests. Whatever, if their class performance, if we see, we will find those who are more motivated, they will perform in their classroom or in their on their questionnaire, they will perform well. If you see this balance, teachers 50% input, and then the 50% input by the student. These are the two balancing aspect of the motivation. Now, I would like to just differentiate what is the difference between interest and motivation. Before going ahead, let us here discuss, is there any difference between interest and motivation? Of course, yes. Various researchers have shown and renewed the interest in interest. There are so many interests, uh, so many studies have conducted on the interest. Interest can be viewed as a set of interaction a student has with various ideas, events, or subject matter. We have interest in a particular subject, but we don't have motivation. Motivation entails the various thoughts and feelings that underlie our behavior. Similarly, interest and motivation have a powerful effect on cognitive functioning and academic achievement. They are closely related to the student's effort, forming a key component of intellectual engagement of school. Early motivating for learning is important as it is a strong predictor of motivation in later stage of life. If we classify the motivation, we will find that these classifications are in two parts, in two major parts. That is primary motives and secondary motives. These are the two parts which we will discuss here. Uh, Primary motives, this primary motive is linked with the primary needs associated with the biological or physiological well-being of individual. That is why these motives are also known as biological or physiological motives. Primary motives are also known as biological motives or physiological motives. The motives ensure the preservation of life for individual and his race. For example, hunger, thirst, sex, avoidance of pain, elimination of body waste, sleep and rest. These all are such kind of our motives that saves our lives, that gives the hope of for our life. If we are hunger, we need food. If we are thirst, we need water. If we have pain, we need uh, some medicines. We have an elimination of waste material. If we have tired, we will need sleep. If we have rest, then we will again do act. These are such kind of actions of our primary motives. Secondary motives are linked with socio-psychological needs, and it is known as the psychological or social motive. It is also known as the psychological or social motives. They are acquired like other forms of learned behavior in the course of satisfaction to our socio-psychological needs. For example, achievement motives. If we want to pass in our class, this is our achievement motive. Self-actualization motive, security motive, application motive, affiliation motives, etc. These such kind of motives are considered as the secondary motive. Similarly, motivation cycle. If you will see the motivation cycle, you will be better to understand how this motivation works. Motivation stands for the state of an organism which involves the existence of a need that moves or drives him from within toward goals, from one place, from one point to another point, with the satisfaction of the desired needs, is called motivation cycle. The motivation or the motivational behavior functions in a continuous flow. It is not a point from end to end or from one point to another point, but it is a cyclic form and which always run our motivation and which is as follows. And cross these four phases, that is needs, drives, incentives, and rewards. And if we will rewarded, then we will again go to further needs and drive, incentives, and rewards. It will be better understood through this diagram, that is flow diagram, from need to the drive, and drive to the intensity incentives, and from incentives to the rewards. This is the flow diagram of motivation, or we can call it motivation cycle. Need, it is the product of physical and physiological deprivation in the body. It is what which is lack in our body or in life. Desire of homeostatic condition of stimuli and constant do not feel need. This is the need. It is the product of physical and physiological deprivation in the need. If we need food, if we feel hunger, we need food. This is first and basic step of motivation. Drives, internal motivation, a state created by need, motion to fulfill the desire of the motivated behavior. Internal tension, state till the satisfaction of it, can produce more than one response. And the third one is incentive. It motivates or encourages someone to do something. Next, appropriate object and situation toward the goal in cycle. And the third one is incentives can help positive and negative. Similarly, the reward, that is state of achievement of an incentives. When we cross the incentives, we receive some rewards. That is feel of pleasure, satisfaction, and give satisfactions gives conditions. Restore homeostatic condition. These are the some uh, cyclic stages or phases of the motivation. Now we will see how many types of motivation. That is the two types of motivation can be broadly classified into two types or two kinds. That is intrinsic motivation, which is also called natural motivation, and extrinsic motivation, that is unnatural motivation. These are the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. What I have tried to diagrammatically show this difference between these two. That is intrinsic motivation, that is enjoyment, purpose, growth, curiosity, passion, self-expression, fun. These all comes under the intrinsic motivation. And intrinsic motivation, that is pay, raises, promotions, benefits, praise, winning, and bounces. These all comes under the extrinsic motivation. Let us discuss one by one. That is intrinsic motivation, or which we call natural motivation, is directly linked with the natural instinct, urge, and impulses of our organism, of an individual. The individual who intrinsically or naturally motivated perform an act because he finds interest within the activity. If suppose I am interested in doing some work, so there is no need to motivate, or there is no need that any external force require me to do so or to do that particular act. That is called intrinsic motivation. And the person is engaged in learning something because he derives pleasure in learning that thing. For example, a student try to solve math problem. आपने देखा हो कि जब कोई स्टूडेंट मैथ की प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करता है और वो उसे सॉल्व करना शुरू करता है और करता रहता है और उसके प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व होते रहते हैं, तो वो खुद ब खुद मोटिवेट होता है. He try to do again next question, then again next question and next question, and it goes on. And because he is self-motivated, or you can say that he is intrinsically motivated, or tries to read poetry. इसी तरह से कोई पोएट्री पढ़ता है तो उसका अपना एक इंटरनल और यू कैन से इंट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन होता है. वो पोएट्री पढ़ता है, एंड द रीडिंग इटसेल्फ गिव हिम प्लेजर. और पढ़ना ही उसको एक तरह से आप समझिए कि वो उसको बहुत ज्यादा खुशी देती है, या वो प्लेजर महसूस करता है उसको पढ़ने में. इट कैन बी सेड दैट ही इज इंट्रिंसिकली मोटिवेटेड. इस तरह की जो भी मोटिवेशन हम अपने आसपास देखते हैं या पाते हैं, दैट इज कॉल्ड intrinsically motivated. Now the extrinsic motivation, that is unnatural motivation. Extrinsic motivation, unlike intrinsic motivation, the source of pleasure does not lie within the task. उस काम को करने में आपको खुशी नहीं हो रही है. You are doing that work which you are bound to do so. Such kind of motivation has no functional relationship to the task. आपको करने में मदद नहीं. जैसे कुछ बच्चों को कहीं जाना नहीं है, but they are driving their car, they are driving their bike, they are cycling because of they feel pleasure when they are doing so. But in extrinsic, they are doing so because of not that they are feeling pleasure, because of that they have to do. The individual learns something not for its own sake, but a means of obtaining desired goal. तो उसका मकसद है कि एक जगह से दूसरी जगह पहुंचना है उसे, इसलिए वो साइकिल चला रहा है, इसलिए वो गाड़ी चला रहा है, इसलिए वो बाइक चला रहा है. वर्किंग फॉर बेटर ग्रेड, या फिर वो कोई पढ़ाई कर रहा है या कोई एक्टिविटी कर रहा है, इसमें उसे ग्रेड इंप्रूव करना है, या उसे बेहतर ग्रेड हासिल करनी है, या फिर उसे कोई एक ऑनर रिसीव करना है, या फिर उसे कोई हुनर या स्किल सीखना है, वो अपने फायदे के लिए, अपने लिवलीहुड के लिए, या वो कोई प्रेज चाहता है, या कोई वो किसी को ब्लेम करना चाहता है, जस्ट बिकॉज he feel pleasure in that act, not for doing so, or reward or punishment, etc. These all such kind of act of extrinsic motivation. There are the some principles of motivation that we will discuss here. Principle of readiness to learn. First principle of motivation, if you want to motivate anyone, you have to follow the first principle, that make them ready. If you are a teacher and you want to teach your students, make them ready to learn. And for the making them ready to learn, you have to do so many things. And that principle says that making them ready to learn is the first principle of motivation. If you want to motivate anyone, you cannot motivate them without their readiness. वो कहते हैं ना, एक इंग्लिश में कोटेशन है कि आप घोड़े को पानी तक ले जा सकते हैं, लेकिन आप उसे पानी पिला नहीं सकते हैं जब तक कि वो ना चाहे. तो इसलिए आप पहले उसे रेडी करिए कि वो उस चीज को सीखे. Now, the second principle is principle of capitalizing on needs and motives. What are their needs? What are their motives? That is the most important thing to know. If you are able to know that particular needs and motives, you will be able to fulfill and you will be able to motivate the children or child. Principle of active participation in learning. If you want to motivate someone, if you want to motivate anyone or in your class students, you have to bring them in the group or in the participation. You cannot motivate anyone in an isolated or individual form. Principle of arousing and maintaining interest. You have to maintain the interest. If someone has any kind of interest, you have to create more interest and try to motivate them toward that particular work. That is the another principle of motivation. The principle of capturing and sustaining attention. If you are a teacher and you are teaching in the classroom, you have to follow the capturing and sustaining the attention. You have to pay attention toward each and every child, and then automatically the student will be motivated to learn something new. Principle of clarity and definiteness of the goals. The motivation will never be achieved if the goal is not clear. If your goal is not definite, हम अक्सर ये देखते हैं कुछ बच्चों के कि 10th क्लास तक कुछ और उनके एस्पिरेशंस होते हैं, उनके और कुछ गोल्स होते हैं. जब वो आगे बढ़ते हैं, किसी और क्लास में जाते हैं तो उनके गोल्स चेंज हो जाते हैं. जब किसी और क्लास में जाते हैं तो उनके गोल और चेंज हो जाते हैं. तो इफ यू आर मोटिवेटेड फॉर a particular and definite goal, and then certainly you will achieve that particular goal. And for that purpose, you have to abide the principle of clarity and definiteness of the goal. Principle of proper organization of the instructional material. If you want to motivate the child, you have to give instruction in a proper way, in an organized way, with your own materials, with your material which can motivate them. This is called principle of proper organization of the instructional material. Principle of employing method and devices. If you want to motivate the child, if you want to motivate the students of your class, you have to employ the certain and particular methods of teaching and methods of devices which are being used and which can be used to teach and to motivate the students. Principle of creating positive environment. Until and unless the environment will be not created positive, according to the need of the child, according to the requirement, the students will not be motivated. You cannot motivate the students to do whatever they have having their desired goal, whatever they are having their goals or their objectives. So there is a need to abide and follow and create the positive environment of the child, among the child. And that positive environment, that is, you appreciate them, you applaud them, you appreciate their activities, whatever they are doing good. You create the environment of positive that each and everyone appreciate if someone is doing good. This is called the principle of creating positive environment. Principle of flexibility. There must be some flexibility among the students, that there must not be a rigid principle that you cannot change. You have to change, and you have to be flexible, and that will give chance to motivate the children or motivate the students. That is principle of flexibility. principle of providing proper feedback. If the students are performing any activity, we must give feedback. We must give them feedback whether they are what they are doing right and what they are doing wrong, and where there is need to improve to act that particular activities. This is called the principle of providing proper feedback and principle of restoring the internal motivation. If someone has only external motivation, we have to restore the internal motivation. And this internal motivation can be only possible through the principle of restoring to internal motivation. That students are internally motivated. If you are teaching in the classroom, you must be internally motivated to teach in the classroom. Internally motivated to teach the particular topic with your own interest and motivation. Until unless you will not be motivated, the students will not learn something new. This is called principle of restoring motivation. Now, the next point which we will discuss is the main point, that is impact of motivation on learning. Motivation has a direct impact on how individuals learn. If someone is learning, it is because he or she is having the motivation for that particular thing that he or she is going to learn. Impact of motivation on learning of the students in the education is important. Without motivation, learning is not possible. There are some following impacts of motivation on learning and orientation towards learning. The first of all, the foremost motivation is an orientation toward the learning. If someone is motivated, it means he want or she want to learn. Because without motivation, learning is not possible. अभी इससे पहले मैंने एक जगह मेंशन किया कि बिना मोटिवेशन के लर्निंग पॉसिबल हो ही नहीं सकती. Therefore, it impacts how likely a student is either to give up or push forward, and how thoughtful their reflections on their learning will be. This motivation gives the reflection of about a student, that is either he will give up or he will push forward. Meaning thereby कि कोई बच्चा अगर है आपके सामने और अगर वो मोटिवेटेड है तो कितना वो सीख सकता है, whether he will or she will continue or he will give up. If he will continue, then there is need to push forward, and how thoughtful their reflection on their learning will be, and in future how much he will be able to learn things. And this is the orientation toward the learning, and that motivation give an impression or impact on the learning. Motivation cultivate resilience and self-assurance in the learning. When a student is truly engrossed in a task, they have less cognitive and emotional energy to focus on social image. जब हम लोग का कोई काम बहुत ही ज्यादा, आप लोगों ने भी देखा होगा कि जब हम बहुत ज्यादा कोई दिल लगा के या कोई बहुत ही ज्यादा मोटिवेटेड होकर काम करते हैं, तो हमें आसपास के कोई चीजें समझ में ही नहीं आती है, पता ही नहीं चलता है कि हमारे बगल से कौन गुजर गया, मुझसे कौन क्या कह रहा है, किससे कौन सी बात कर रहा है. That is, and in that situation, that is only motivation that gives such kind of situation to learn something new, to learn something. This is called emotional energy to focus on the social image. हमारे पास इतना टाइम ही नहीं होता है कि हम दूसरे तरफ ध्यान दे सकें, because we are so much motivated to do so and to learn something new. Individual who is engaged in intrinsically motivating activities report that their self-consciousness and other stressors tend to fade for the period of that activity. ये भी पाया गया है कि अगर कोई बंदा या कोई स्टूडेंट्स या कोई टीचर या कोई अपने काम में बहुत ही ज्यादा आई विल से इंटेंसिकली मोटिवेटेड एक्टिविटीज में इन्वॉल्व है और सेल्फ कॉन्शियसनेस अदर स्ट्रेस जो है वो उसके फेड हो जाता है, एंड फॉर दैट पीरियड ऑफ टाइम टिल द वर्क इज कंप्लीटेड. जब तक वो काम वो पूरा नहीं कर लेता है तब तक उसके और सारे तरफ जो उसके डिस्ट्रैक्शंस होते हैं वो खत्म हो जाते हैं, तकरीबन वो फिनिश रहते हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि he or she is intrinsically motivated for that particular activity. So that's why it is said that motivation cultivates resilience and self-assurance. If anyone is motivated in such a way, of course, he will be cultivated resilience and self-assurance in learning. Motivation and agency of learning. The third aspect of this impact of this motivation is that agency may be defined briefly as sense of purpose of and autonomy in striving after one goal. That is, after one, you have achieved the one goal and you are striving for the another goal. Agency and motivation are interactively linked concept because as the students become more driven to reach a goal, they consequently develop a stronger sense of purpose in directing energy toward the goal. That is, practice growth mindset, encouraging self-efficacy, and normalize the struggle. They have these three steps and stages to practice their mindset. They always practice, and they always practice because they are highly motivated. Encourage self-efficacy and normalize their struggle. They don't treat struggle as a struggle. They normalize their struggle because they are motivated and they are highly motivated, and that impact on learning. If you are highly motivated, of course, that will impact and that will a great impact on your learning. Minimize competition when there is one right answer. A pressure to compete tends to diminish motivation unless the two students are and perceive themselves to be equally competent. If a student at the top of the class is pitted against a student who is struggling, the latter student may feel that there is no reason to try. But I will mention here that it is motivation that that motivate us to struggle for reaching that particular goal. And this attitude and this motivation minimize the competition when there is one right answer. This is called the minimize competition when there is one right answer. Develop optimally challenging mastery-oriented goals. Motivation develop optimally challenging and mastery-oriented goals. Differentiating tasks so that they are appropriately challenging allows students to maintain optimal engagement. When students are working just within their current ability, they are drawn in by their curiosity to find the answer and spurred by the belief that they can find the answer. This is develop optimally. Motivation develop you at optimum level of any kind of challenge and reach to the mastery-oriented goal. Whatever you have fixed the mastery goals, or you have the fixed the highest goal, this is the motivation which makes you to learn day by day and every day the new things, and you reach that particular mastery-oriented goal. Or a optimum challenge which you can achieve, which you can receive, and you receive and you accept that challenge and you try to achieve that challenge through your motivation. Avoid tangible rewards. This is what the impact of motivation on learning, that those who are motivated to achieve any goal, they don't bother about the reward. Tangible rewards are often counterproductive, and the more external and reward, less inherently valuable the student will find the activity. Because if they are intrinsically motivated, they don't bother about the rewards. कि हम किसी किताब को पढ़ लेंगे, हम किसी नॉवल को पढ़ लेंगे, तो हमें एक किताब खत्म करने का, एक नॉवल को फिनिश करने का, ऐसा नहीं है. They are not bothered about that tangible reward. If they are intrinsically motivated, they are bothered about that just they are feeling pleasure and enjoyment of doing so. And in that case, they are learning so many things. Therefore, in this way, the motivation impact a lot on the learning. Now, these are some points which I will suggest you, that strategies of students motivating for effective learning. What being a teacher, what we should do? what we can do that students be motivated when they are for effective learning. हमने अभी तक तो ये देख लिया कि भाई क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है मोटिवेशन का लर्निंग पे. अब फर्दर इफ यू वांट टू enhance the learning of our child in our classroom, then what we should do? There are some points which I have selected. That is child-centered approach. Always we should treat in our teaching our classroom in a child-centered approach. That is the best way to for the effective learning of the children. If the students are not, if you want to student motivate, child-centered approach should be adopted. What their needs, because what we were having the needs, we are the past generation, we are not taught by the child-centered approach. But if we want to motivate our children to learn new things and for their learning, there is need to adopt the child-centered approach. Liking new learning with the past, linking new learning with the past. Meaning thereby, we have to teach them new things. We have to make them to learn new things relating to the past. We have to give the examples to the students which they can learn with the new ideas. Use of suitable pedagogical aspect, aids, that is the aids teaching devices. These are the another aspect that a student can learn and a student can motivate it. Use of suitable pedagogy. Earlier we were using only, or even today, most of us are adopted the lecture method. We just go in the classroom and start delivering the lecture, and we think that we are teaching very well. We don't give chance to ask the question. We don't give chance to the student to discuss with any doubts, any topic. We don't allow the student to discuss about themselves, and we just teach whatever we had studied. We just adopted our single pedagogical aspect, that is our method of teaching, that is the lecture method. No, if we want to motivate our children, if we want to give them effective learning, we have to teach the different topic with a different teaching method, with a different pedagogical aspect, and with a different and suitable teaching aids and teaching devices. That will motivate more than what we are using our traditional methods of teaching. Traditional method of teachings are that we reached in the classroom, we entered in the classroom, and we started teaching. And after completing one paragraph, we ask one or two questions and we finish the work and conclude the topic. We don't bother about whether the last student of the classroom able to understand the concept, the topic or not. And that can be only possible, through the effective learning by adopting the suitable methods of teaching or pedagogical aspect. We have to use some teaching aids, teaching devices. We have so many devices nowadays. We have the Android mobiles, we have the laptops, computers, and even some of these schools are very good smart classroom. And we have to learn and we have to use that electronic gadgets and devices to teach our students. And through this, we will be able to motivate for effective learning of the children. Definiteness of the purpose and goals. How it is possible? Because we are seeing in today's world that there is no definiteness as far as their purpose and goal are concerned. आज आप अपने क्लास में किसी बच्चे से पूछिए कि आपके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स क्या हैं, आपके गोल्स क्या हैं, वो ही इज अनएबल टू टेल इवन. वो बता ही नहीं पाएगा क्या है, और बताएगा तो ऐसा सुपरफिशियल बताएगा कि यू विल सरप्राइज टू हियर. कोई डेफिनेटनेस नहीं है. एंड दैट डेफिनेटनेस and that lack of definiteness is because we are not teaching, we are not making them to learn in effective manner. We are not able to motivate them that they can bring the definiteness of their life goals, of their life purpose. So there are some strategies And that strategy, one of the strategies, definiteness of the purpose and goals. हम अपने क्लास में जाते हैं पढ़ाने, हमें पता ही नहीं आज कौन सा टॉपिक पढ़ाना है. When we reach in the classroom, we ask the student, हाँ भाई कौन सी टॉपिक पढ़नी है, which topic we have to discuss. Think about what we have prepared for teaching. When we are not motivated, what to talk about the motivation of the child. So there is need to be definite and decide our purpose and goals, and then we reach in the classroom. And similarly, we have to stick our students, we have to motivate our students for effective learning, for their definite purpose and goal of life. Knowledge of the result and proof. Today's some of the schools and some of the state boards have adopted to tell the students about their results, about their marks, about their before giving their final result, and try to prove them. They don't know what are their stand, what are their position. So there is need knowledge of results and proof. Similarly, we have to know what about the students. We must know each and every student in a particular and try to motivate them according to their needs, according to their requirement. Praise, rewards, and punishment. These are the three, we can say, the instrument through which we can motivate our students. We can praise, first of all, if they are doing good. And after praise, we can reward them. These rewards may be many types, verbal, non-verbal. This praise may be many types, verbal, non-verbal. And of course, if they are doing wrong, we should punishment. Punishment is not always the corporal punishment, but the punishment may be verbal punishment. With our gesture, with our posture, with our act, with our action, we can punish our children, our students. This is so because just for the motivation of the child that they can learn effectively. Because this is the responsibility of the teacher of the effective learning of the child. If we are teaching well, if we are teaching good, then it means we are responsible for teaching them. We are responsible for their praise, rewards, and punishment. Competition and cooperation. This is the best way to bring the motivation among the children. For that purpose, we should adopt some of the method which is called project method. Make the group of the students and various groups of the students and compete them to each other. And of course, within the group, there must be a cooperation. Because without the cooperation, there is no competition. If a individual of a group will not be having cooperation, how they can compete with another group? And this competition and cooperation will motivate them to learn effectively. If you will give them such kind of environment, if you will give them such kind of chances of competition and chances of cooperation through the different method of teaching. The one method that is project method. The another method may be the group, forming the group in the classroom and ask the question of the one group or discuss on any topic, on any fruitful topic, and ultimately conclude that point. That will create a kind of motivation, and that kind of motivation can be possible through the competition and cooperation. And through these process, the students will be able to learn something new. Now the ego involvement. Sometimes we see the word ego as a negative term. No, but it is a very positive. Sometimes we have to involve our ego. That no, I have to do this, and that I have to do this is a kind of motivation. When you have rigid to do that particular thing, you are very much interested to perform that particular work, and you have make it an ego involvement, and you have involved the ego in that particular activity, that is called ego involvement for the motivation for the effective learning. This is also one of the strategy that you make the ego from a particular child, from a particular class, कि नहीं आपको ये करना ही है. This is my ego. And that work will be performed by the students. And of course, they will motivate by this ego involvement, and they will learn effectively. So sometimes we have to use this kind of strategies also to motivate our children, to motivate our students to achieve that particular goal, to achieve that particular purpose in any way. Develop the proper attitude of the students. This is one of the important strategy to develop the proper attitude of the student. In which situation he have to discharge what kind of attitude. That will also lead towards this motivation. We, the teachers, can develop the proper attitude, that I will say the positive attitudes of their work, of their activity, of the students, so that they will be motivated, and they can be motivated to learn something new or for their learning. Without developing the proper attitude of the students, we cannot motivate them, and we cannot make them able to learn something new. For example, if the students is not properly motivated, we cannot receive the various activities of the classroom from his or her side. अगर उसके एटीट्यूड को हम प्रॉपरली डेवलप नहीं कर पाए, तो हम उससे आगे की एक्टिविटीज के बारे में क्या एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे. इसलिए अगर हमें उसे मोटिवेट करना है, तो हमें उसके एटीट्यूड को भी डेवलप करना होगा. अप्रिशिएट लर्निंग सिचुएशन एंड इन्वायरमेंट. Whatever you are having the situation, हम अक्सर क्या करते हैं, हम क्लास में जाते ही कहते हैं ओहो बहुत गर्मी है, क्लास का एनवायरनमेंट ठीक नहीं है, आजकल मौसम ठीक नहीं है. The demotivation start from that point. Demotivation वहीं से शुरू हो जाता है, because you have not appreciated the learning situation or learning environment, whatever you are having at that particular time in your class. You already said at the first instance you have demotivated the student. काश कि आपने कुछ ऐसी बात कही होती, कोई ऐसा इंस्पिरेशनल उनको शॉर्ट स्टोरी सुना दी होती 2 मिनट की, कि we can learn in this situation also. We should not and we must not withdraw the learning situation. We must not criticize this learning environment or learning situation. This will also lead them to motivate to learn. So these are some strategies which I would like to discuss. I discuss with you. These strategies, if we really adopt, of course, we will be able to motivate our students for effective learning. Appreciate the situation, whatever you are having. Appreciate the environment, whatever your environment, your school or your college is having, your department is having. Never try to criticize, and that your appreciation will create a positive environment. That your appreciation will change the situation of learning, and that will motivate students rather than demotivating them. With these words, I would like to ask your suggestions and your question if you are having any doubts. Hello.
Yes, if there is any questions, please write in the chat box or Thank you, sir. Yes, if there is any questions, can you ask?
Anyone?
I think there is no question, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, Fazia Khan. Anyone? Tomorrow sessions will be held on the same time, 5:30. I have sent to you message on WhatsApp and chat box also. Thanks a lot, Nasir Salati. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you, sir.
you. Thank you very much. I think, sir, there is no any questions. So
Okay, sir.
I think we should concluding, and thank you very much, sir. And thank you all participants for coming this sessions. Really, sir, your lecture is very wonderful. You gave us a very, it is very knowledgeable. So I think, okay, sir. Okay, everyone. I
Thank you,
think,
sir.
I
May I leave
think,
now?
thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everyone, for coming this session. Okay.